At an unexpected moment, I discovered my wife was having an affair with her lover, and quietly decided to call the police. There's a burglar in my house. As events unfolded, the outcome shocked everyone. This wasn't just a story of revenge, but a profound exploration of betrayal and human nature. Before Year's Eve, the spot took its last order. I need a portrait painted on the cake, based on this photo. Make it realistic. She's always been a bit spoiled. If it doesn't look like her, she'll definitely get angry with me, and it'd take a long time to win her over. The guy in front of me kept rambling on for ages, but I just stared blankly at the photo he'd sent. Nothing else mattered. The photo the customer sent of his girlfriend was identical to my wife of 7 years. I zoomed in and scrutinized the photo several times, terrified I was mistaken, but the small mole on her chin was an unmistakable reminder. This was my wife, Grace. Before I could fully process it, the guy sent several more photos. Is one photo not enough for reference? I'll send you a few more. He seemed eager to seize every moment to show off their affection, parading their sweet relationship to outsiders. Can the cake be ready today? I booked a romantic getaway hotel for tonight. It should be ready in time, right? She worries about me being a student, afraid I don't have enough money, and even specifically gave me $20,000. Their couple photos filled the screen. In the pictures, they embraced intimately, their smiles sweet. I looked at the guy in front of me. He seemed to be still in college, very young. Is this really your girlfriend? You didn't send the wrong photos, did you? The guy shot me an annoyed glance and retorted gruffly, even if my girlfriend is very pretty, you shouldn't say things like that. She's a lawyer, and she's incredibly capable. She's also very good to me this year. She even said she won't go home for the holidays. She wants to spend the holidays with me. Hearing that, I breathed a sigh of relief. Grace had already told me to pick her up from legal after work this afternoon, and she'd come straight back to Michael's parents' place with me. Maybe they just looked alike, and it was a coincidence they were both lawyers. It's a big world, full of strange coincidences. I frowned, forcing myself not to suspect Grace, and quickly finished the cake. But just as I handed the cake to the customer, his phone suddenly rang, and Grace's voice came through. Honey, I am almost off work. If I don't see you, tonight's date is off. I'll be right there. I even brought you a small gift. I froze. I couldn't possibly mistake a voice I'd heard for over 10 years. Just as I was about to grab the guy and ask for clarification, he was already out the door with the cake. I wiped my hands, picked up my phone, my mind overflowing with confusion. I was about to call Grace when the screen lit up. She called me first. I hesitated for a moment, then answered the call. The same voice from earlier came through the phone, but the content was completely different. Husband, I just took on a case, and it's quite tricky. I am afraid I won't be able to come home with you this year. I stared at the screen, lost in thought. How could it be such a coincidence? The customer's girlfriend wanted to spend the holidays with him, and Grace also happened to have something come up that prevented her from going back to their family home in the countryside. The truth was already clear before me. Was I still going to deceive myself? After finished speaking, she didn't get a reply from me for a while, so she tentatively asked, Michael, are you listening? I pulled at the corners of my mouth, stretching my stiff face. Why are you suddenly not coming home? Grace sighed and complained to me in her usual tone. I don't want to work overtime, but legal has too much going on, and I am at a critical point for a promotion. Husband, you can understand, right? With her saying that, what reason did I have to refuse? In that moment, I really wanted to confront her, disregard everything else, but seeing her act as if everything was normal, a sense of helplessness welled up inside me. Clenching my phone, I tried to calm myself. Will you be too lonely spending the holidays alone at home tonight? Do you want to go to a hotel? There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by Grace's slightly raised voice. What hotel? Even if I were to go out, I'd be going to a restaurant with my girlfriends. Grace didn't know that. When she was feeling guilty, her voice would always tighten up and be louder than usual. After nearly 10 years together, I could tell instantly if she was lying. A bitter taste spread across my tongue. I pretended as if nothing was wrong, and said calmly, restaurant, I misspoke. Oh, and Lily has a bit of a cold these past couple of days. Could you video call her tonight, when you get home? She misses you a lot at Grandma's house. Grace paused, then readily agreed, as if all my suspicions were just misunderstandings. I admit, I did this to see if Grace would choose that guy or her family. I suddenly remembered a case she'd gossiped about with me before, where a woman had cheated, and it ended up in court. What was her comment then? So foolish. I thought she meant it was foolish to destroy a marriage for the thrill of an affair. Now it seemed she thought the cheating woman was inept to get caught. She certainly had the confidence to mock others. For so many years, I had never doubted her feelings for me. Grace and I had been together since high school. We went from high school sweethearts to husband and wife, and we had a 5-year-old daughter. We were seen as a happy family by everyone. I knew Grace was beautiful, and even when she was with me, she never lacked suitors, but she always firmly refused, openly stating she was in a relationship. I could check her phone anytime, and our wedding photo was on her office desk. She never tried to hide her married status. For a moment, I even thought I had misunderstood, but the couple photos sent by the customer glaringly told me that Grace had indeed betrayed me. I took a deep breath and switched to my chat with Grace. Last night, she was still messaging me saying she missed me. In the morning, she didn't forget to remind me to dress warmly, watch out for colds, and remember to teach our daughter English. She cared for every detail, like the best wife and mother in the world. But who would have thought that such a good wife and mother had been cheating on me for a year behind my back? My head felt a bit dizzy. I opened WhatsApp, found the customer ID just added, and with trembling hands, tapped on his profile picture. His profile said, Finn, 21 years old, a junior in college. His profile picture was of him, a typical college student's face, with a hint of shyness, the type Grace liked. His social media feed background was a photo of the two of them. The necklace around Grace's neck in the picture was a custom piece I bought her abroad during our honeymoon. I took a deep breath and scrolled through his social media feed. I went through post by post. Most were photos of the two of them. There were photos and videos. Grace was disheveled, sitting in his lap. Their expressions were intimate. Anyone looking would say they were a deeply affectionate couple. The most recent social media post read, "My dear is spending the holidays with me this year. We've been together for 1 year. I hope he by my side every year." In the photo, their hands were clasped together. The ring on Grace's hand was long gone, replaced by a matching couple's ring with Finn. The last shred of hope in my heart vanished, immediately replaced by fury. I had been understanding of Grace's busy schedule at legal, so whenever she said she had to work overtime and wouldn't be home, I didn't suspect a thing. In fact, feeling bad about her busy work, I would transfer thousands to her every time, telling her to eat well and not neglect herself. But I never imagined that her busy cases were actually her having an affair with someone else. Those thousands, I am afraid Grace used them to support her young lover, spending them on hotel rooms, right? I felt ridiculous for my own slowness, and pathetic for our 10-year relationship. Finn was still talking about how happy and sweet he and Grace were, but I couldn't help but interrupt him, making an excuse that I had something to do and telling him to discuss the details with the store assistant. I knew he might also be a victim, but I was in no mood to continue talking with him now. Those photos were like slap after slap, hitting me hard across the face. I sat in the store for a while, lost in thought, then picked up my car keys and left. I wanted to see it for myself, to completely give up hope. I parked my car outside legal, looking at the familiar entrance. A heavy weight pressed on my heart. Ever since Grace joined this legal, I had driven her to work for 7 years, rain or shine. In the beginning, we had just graduated, and didn't have much money. I gritted my teeth, squeezed $2,000 out of my intern salary, and bought a used scooter. Every morning, I would ride that old scooter, and drive her all the way to work. The people at legal were snobs, looking down on me for driving her on a scooter, and they often mocked me. I felt like I was embarrassing Grace, and was about to offer her money for taxes instead, but she stopped me. "What's wrong with riding a scooter? Even if you rode a shared bike to take me to work, I wouldn't be embarrassed." After she said that, we both laughed. Later, as soon as I saved up a little money, I bought a car as a birthday gift for Grace. The day she received the gift, she held me and cried silently for a long time. I thought that after everything we'd been through together, nothing could separate us, but I never imagined that our seemingly stable happiness had, at some point, become riddled with cracks. A few minutes later, a taxi pulled up outside legal. I watched Finn get out of the car, carrying the cake. He raised a hand to make a call, and less than 5 minutes later, Grace rushed out. She was overjoyed at the sight of the cake, clinging to Finn's arm and constantly fawning over him. Like a girl deeply in love, Finn put his arm around her waist, and pressed a kiss on her forehead. The two of them whispered intimately for a long time. I looked at the coat and scarf Grace was wearing. She had clearly dressed up, thinking of that phone call. What more was there to understand? She had no intention of coming home with me. She had already planned to celebrate New Year's Eve with Finn. That sudden case was just a means to make her lie more convincing. My phone vibrated. My mom messaged me, asking what time Grace and I would be home. I closed my eyes, suppressing the surging emotions in my heart. Don't wait up. She's not coming back, and she won't be coming back ever again. I drove home alone. When I arrived home that evening, my daughter ran up, looking for her mom, looking at her innocent little face. I felt a pang of sadness. If and Daddy separate, will you stay with Daddy or Mommy? On the drive home, I had already decided to divorce Grace. However beautiful our marriage once was, the moment the lies were exposed, it became just as ugly. I couldn't entrust my child to a woman like that. My daughter tilted her head, not understanding my words, but my mom, who was passing by, heard it clearly. She picked up my daughter, annoyed. What are you saying to the child? Grace is so busy. You should try to be more understanding of her. My mom had always treated Grace like her own daughter. Seeing that Grace wasn't coming home this year, she had lectured me quite a bit, urging me to call her. My daughter watched with eager eyes from the side, suppressing my emotions. I dialed the video call. I had expected Grace to make an excuse not to answer, just like before, but to my surprise, she picked up after a few rings. I was stunned when I saw her background. She was actually at home tonight. I had clearly seen her leave legal with Finn earlier. Could it be that she remembered she had a child, and didn't go to a romantic getaway hotel with Finn? I remained silent, watching her smile and talk to our daughter, with my parents occasionally interjecting. The family looked as warm and harmonious as ever, without any hint of estrangement. Seeing that I hadn't said much, Grace looked at me worriedly. Michael, are you feeling unwell? You don't look so good. The concern on her face didn't seem fake, but seeing it only made me feel nauseous, a bit of motion sickness. Hearing that, she quickly gave me some advice and told me to go lie down. Just as I was about to get up, I suddenly heard the sound of something heavy dropping on the other end of the line. Grace's expression froze, then she casually said, my friend went home to spend the holidays, and she left her cat with me for a few days. I'll go see if it knocked over another cup. She got up and quickly ended the video call. Her movements were swift, but the fleeting hickey on her body still caught my eye. I opened my food delivery app and found a new message. It was a positive review left by Finn half an hour ago. The cake was delicious. My girlfriend loved it. I just accidentally made a mess at her place. He included a few photos. In the corner of one photo, I could even see condom wrappers in the trash can. My chest ached with anger. So, she hadn't just gone to a hotel with him. She had brought him straight home. Thinking about how many times Grace had brought someone back to our house, how many times she had been intimate with someone in my bed over the past year, I felt sick to my stomach. Seeing how terrible my complexion was, my mom quickly asked what was wrong. I waved my hand, swallowing all the bitterness. My mom wasn't in good health, and I was afraid she wouldn't be able to handle hearing about Grace's infidelity. I walked onto the balcony, about to call Grace directly to confront her, but then something suddenly occurred to me. I opened the back end, zoomed in on the photos Finn had just sent, and examined them carefully again. In the corner of the photo he'd just sent, there was our wedding photo, hanging in the living room. So, he knew Grace was a married woman. I found Finn and messaged him, are you free? Let's meet. I am Grace's husband, her legal husband of 7 years. An hour later, Finn finally messaged me back. The moment I saw his message, blood rushed to my head. I thought you'd come looking for me this morning. I can't believe you managed to hold out until now. Finn casually tossed out a sentence that nearly knocked me off my feet. I had thought he was innocent, fooled by Grace. I never expected him to deliberately come to provoke me. Then again, how clean could someone be if they were involved with a married woman? Finn, full of arrogance, continued, since you already know, I won't hide anything. I am at your place right now. Grace just fell asleep. You should take the initiative and get a divorce. Grace doesn't love you anymore. I had decided to divorce, but it wouldn't be that simple. If loved you, why are you the one confronting me, not her? For the past year, she kept me completely in the dark, terrified I'd find out about you. If she truly loved you, why would she let you be the other man for so long? Finn grew anxious. Who are you calling the other man? The one who isn't loved is the other man. Ignoring his nonsense, I spoke directly. Then tell her to come and tell me about the divorce herself. Silence fell on his end, and it was a while before he replied. No matter what, I am not backing out. Tell me, what will it take for you to divorce her? I chuckled mockingly. It seemed I was right. The reason I hadn't discovered Grace's affair this past year was partly because I always trusted her, and partly because she was very good at hiding it. If hadn't been unable to hold it in, and come to me himself, I might never have found out. This also showed that she had no intention of confronting me, and letting Finn take my place. But you can't juggle two relationships without one of them capsizing. The moment I realized Finn was at my house, I genuinely wanted to drive home, and throw the divorce papers in Grace's face. But when I saw my daughter, I immediately calmed down. My calmness wasn't about pretending nothing had happened, and continuing to live with Grace. Instead, it was about getting a clean divorce, and taking my daughter away from this house. Grace was a lawyer, so getting custody from her wouldn't be easy. Fortunately, Finn had unwittingly handed me an advantage. I typed slowly. It's not impossible for me to file for divorce, but you need to help me get custody. Otherwise, there's nothing to discuss. The few clues I had weren't enough to definitively prove Grace's affair, but with Finn's cooperation, it would be different. Sure enough, Finn didn't hesitate for long before agreeing to the deal. Finally, he asked, still unsure, you won't miss Grace, and then change your mind later, will you? I decisively replied with 2 words, no way. Once unfaithful, never trust again. Those words sounded very harsh to Finn. After all, he was the other man, a product of marital infidelity, and he couldn't help but retort immediately, she and I are different from you, we're together because of love. I really wanted to tell him that Grace and I had also gotten together because of love, but what happened later? She still betrayed me. For a moment, I wanted to tell Finn about Grace and my past. When we were deeply in love, we also felt indispensable to each other and firmly believed we would spend our lives together. But in the end, it couldn't stand up to the 7-year itch. In the end, I didn't say much more. Grace's heartlessness would make him see everything clearly. I stayed at their family home in the countryside until the 3rd day of the holiday break. For those 3 days, Grace video called me every day, and in the video, she seemed completely normal. She even remembered to ask if my motion sickness had improved. Husband, I haven't seen you in 2 days. I really miss you. She cooed at me with her phone, just like before. I looked at the divorce papers I had organized by my hand and said faintly, since you miss me so much, maybe I'll go back a few days early. Hearing that, Grace's smile stiffened slightly. She glanced away, forcing a laugh. It's not easy for you to come home, so spend more time with your parents. Plus, Lily likes playing at their family home in the countryside. Let her play for a few more days during the holiday. I am fine by myself at home. You don't always have to worry about me. Her words, both direct and indirect, showed she was afraid I'd return early. I hid the mockery in my eyes and agreed cooperatively. I wasn't ready for the divorce yet, so how could I go back so soon? After receiving my assurance, Finn didn't deliberately make noise in the video call like last time, but as soon as the call ended, he messaged me. He detailed how he and Grace had been intimate at my house over the past 3 days, while saving all the hotel records and Venmo transfer chats he sent me. I packed my things and drove home. My departure was sudden. My mom thought I had gone out drinking with friends. She didn't know I immediately turned the car onto the highway. With about 15 minutes left until I reached home, I called the police. I think there's a burglar in my house. When the police broke through the door, Grace and Finn rushed out of the bedroom, disheveled. Is this the thief? The police officer's expression was odd as he looked at Finn. Grace was both angry and anxious, and quickly explained to everyone, this is my boyfriend. Did you get the wrong address? Someone glanced at the wedding photo hanging in the living room, a hint of mockery on their face. Boyfriend. Then who's the person in that photo? A flicker of embarrassment crossed Grace's face. She walked over, trying to usher them out. This has nothing to do with you, does it? Who called the police? You must have the wrong address. I called the police. I stepped out from behind the crowd, watching as Grace's face suddenly lost all color. You were still at their family home in the countryside, weren't you? How did you suddenly come back? Michael, listen to me. She stammered, taking a few steps forward, reaching to grab my sleeve to explain. I mercilessly shook off her hand, a mocking expression on my face. Didn't you say your friend left a cat with you? I came back to see the cat. Her lie exposed directly. Grace's face flushed crimson, and she couldn't utter a word. I apologized to the police, and, after confirming that the evidence of the affair had been fully recorded by their body cameras, I sent them away. When I turned around, Grace was waiting by the door, her eyes brimming with tears. Finn had just gotten dressed and was wiping her tears with a tissue, but she shoved him away. Seeing so eager to distance herself from him, Finn shot me a furious glare, his expression filled with resentment. Meeting my gaze, Grace quickly tried to explain. Michael, my being with him was just an accident. I never meant to betray you, really. Listening to her incoherent explanation, I almost laughed in anger. An accident. An accident that lasted a year. Grace, happy 1-year anniversary. Hearing the words 1-year anniversary, Grace understood everything. She turned and swiftly slapped Finn across the face. You went to my husband. Who told you to go to him? Finn covered his face, incredulous. You hit me because of him. Didn't you say you loved me the most? Grace didn't even look at him, only at me, explaining in a low voice. I was just saying those things casually, playing along with him. I watched Grace's helpless demeanor, then handed her the divorce papers I had carried all the way. Your lies are too numerous. I don't even know if I should believe you. Grace, let's get a divorce. Grace's face instantly went pale, glancing at the messy room. I lost all interest in staying there any longer, and turned to leave. Grace tried to follow me out, but Finn stopped her with a grab. It's so cold outside, what if you catch a cold? Even after being slapped, he still hadn't come to his senses. Grace stopped, persuaded by his words. As I went downstairs, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I glanced at it. The screen was filled with calls from the same person. I found it somewhat amusing. What could Grace possibly want to say on the phone? It would just be the same old pleas for forgiveness. Betrayal in a relationship cannot be mended by any number of promises. Grace didn't know that during those days at their family home in the countryside, I had scrolled through Finn's social media feed again and again. Each time, it was like taking a knife to a freshly healed wound. Seeing the familiar dates, memories resurfaced in my mind. Bit by bit, the day she said she was going on a business trip to a neighboring city, she was actually on a holiday trip to an island with Finn. They passionately embraced under the lights of a romantic getaway hotel, making promises by the wishing well. On my birthday, she said she was working overtime at legal, but Finn was actually jealous and dragged her to a bar for an all-nighter. Whence carefully woven lies were exposed, the last trace of attachment in my heart vanished. I really wanted to ask her, was it so hard to be faithful to our marriage? When she was having her affair, did she feel even a flicker of guilt towards me and our daughter? I drove aimlessly through the streets, suddenly not knowing where to go. The car windows were down, and the cold winter wind cut across my face like a knife. As I drove, I looked up, and realized I had reached the park. Looking at the all too familiar night view, a wave of emotion washed over me. Back when we were in college, Grace and I didn't have much money. Other couples went to coffee shops or amusement parks for dates. Grace and I could only hold hands and walk back and forth along the park, again and again. Back then, she'd point to the skyline across the river, pulling me along, and promising that we'd work hard together, and settle down there one day. Later, we finally saved enough money, and bought the Riverview apartment we had always dreamed of, but it was no longer a home. I found a random hotel and slept there for a few days, while also consulting a lawyer to prepare for the divorce. No matter what, I was determined to get custody of my daughter. As I was swamped with everything, the hospital called, informing me to pay the fees. It was then that I remembered Grace's father's medical fees were due. I rushed to the hospital, only to see someone I hadn't expected. In the hospital room, Finn was sitting by the bedside, holding a bowl of homemade chicken soup, about to feed it to Henry. Henry, I specially stewed this for you. It took hours. Please try some. I glanced outside the door. The food delivery packaging had just been opened, so he ordered takeout and pretended he made it himself, just to impress an elder. Henry wasn't having it and pushed the bowl away. Don't come here trying to act nice. Do you think I don't know what you're trying to do? Destroying someone's family. Do you have no shame? He used a bit too much force, and the soup spilled from the bowl, immediately reddening Finn's hand. Grace frowned and quickly poured mineral water to rinse the scalded area on his hand. Dad, just talk. Why are you getting physical? Henry glared, annoyed. I think this man has completely charmed you. Tell me, how has Michael ever wronged you? These past few years, I haven't been well, and you've been busy. Hasn't Michael been the one taking care of me? They say it's tough caring for someone long-term, but look how Michael has been. Daughter, tell me, aren't the things you've done just heartless? Scolded relentlessly by her own father, Grace's face turned pale, and a flicker of guilt appeared in her eyes. She was about to say something when she suddenly saw me standing outside the door. Grace froze. Her first instinct was to shield Finn, but the next moment, she realized the absurdity of her actions, and, with a pale face, tried to explain to me. I got a call from the hospital, and he insisted on coming with me. I said blandly, what does that have to do with me? Henry, do you feel better recently? I just asked the doctor, and he said your post-op recovery is going very well. Hearing me address him as Henry, Henry's expression darkened. He let out a long sigh and patted my hand. Our family has wronged you, Michael. If you want a divorce, I support you. Hearing that, a hint of joy flashed across Finn's face, but Grace stood up. Dad, what are you talking about? Divorce? I don't agree. Henry's chest heaved. He pointed at her angrily. You've done something like this. What right do you have to disagree? How did I give birth to such a shameless daughter like you? Get out, and take this other man with you. He directly grabbed the homemade chicken soup nearby and threw it at Grace. Grace shrieked and snatched it away, but still got soaked. I quickly stepped forward to comfort Henry, talking to him for a long time to get his blood pressure down. As soon as I stepped out, I saw Grace hiding in the stairwell. Seeing me look over, a pleading look appeared in her eyes. Michael, Lily is here. I can't let her see me like this. I frowned and looked down the hallway. My daughter was playing with a Rubik's Cube, supervised by my mom. If saw Grace like this, how would I explain it to her? Her mother had always been a towering figure in her heart. She had known since childhood that her mother was a lawyer, fighting for the underdog and standing for justice. Was I supposed to expose Grace's affair in front of her? I sighed, turned, walked towards my daughter, and picked her up, intending to go into the hospital room. But unexpectedly, just as I stepped into the room, she turned around and saw Grace. Mommy, why is Mommy here? Called out by her child. Grace was mortified. Looking utterly disheveled, I found an excuse to cover for Grace and handed the child to my confused mother. Unexpectedly, this action led Grace to misunderstand. With red-rimmed eyes, she stopped me on the rooftop. Michael, even for Lily's sake, can we not get a divorce? I swear, from now on, I will absolutely have no contact with Finn again, nor with anyone else. I gave a bitter laugh and asked her, Grace, how can I trust you? You could betray 10 years of a relationship. How can I ever dare to trust you again? If we don't divorce, then what? Every time you work late, I'll uncontrollably wonder if you're with another man. Every time you go out, I'll think about which man you're dating. I suppressed the emotions in my heart and looked at Grace. The trust between us has long been destroyed by you. How can over 10 years of trust be rebuilt? Grace's lips trembled, as if she had suddenly lost all her strength. I turned and left, leaving only one sentence as I walked past her: sign the divorce papers soon. After returning home, I found an opportunity to tell my mom about the situation. Hearing that Grace had cheated, she utterly refused to believe it. Only when I laid out the evidence I had collected in front of her did she believe me. Everyone at home supported my decision to divorce. Our daughter had been with me since she was little and was closer to me. Grace did want to fight for custody, but since she had cheated first, she couldn't win against me. Aside from our daughter, she was quite generous with the assets. She gave me both the car and the house, leaving with nothing. The only thing she wanted to take with her was the car I had given her back then. After years of working, we had long since upgraded to BMWs and Audis. That old car had been sitting in the garage, untouched, for a long time. When she spoke, I even had a moment of disorientation. But what good would regret do? Everything was irreversible. What surprised me was that Grace actually sued Finn, demanding he repay all the Venmo transfers he received during their relationship. It was then that Finn finally saw Grace's true colors. Grace was a lawyer, intimately familiar with legal statutes. She and Finn were just fooling around when disclosed everything to me, leading to her divorce. She immediately unleashed all her anger on him. During their relationship, She had always been quite calculating, making sure every Venmo transfer avoided special occasions and using vague language. Finn, unsuspecting, took it all as Grace's love and received it quite happily. It wasn't until he saw the bill that he was stunned. It was a whopping $160,000. He had spent money freely, but when it came to paying it back, he couldn't produce a single penny. The two of them immediately started arguing in court, and the matter even made a small splash in the local news. A neighbor saw me and came over to gossip. That woman is truly ruthless. I heard she even included money for hotel rooms and bubble tea. I didn't speak. After more than 10 years together, I had long since seen Grace's true nature. Love with a fierce devotion, hate with a deadly passion. She hated Finn for destroying her marriage, so naturally, she would go for the kill, but didn't she also bear a part of the blame for destroying the marriage? Emerging from the clerk's office, I looked at the divorce papers in my hand, and finally let out a sigh of relief. This divorce battle had left me exhausted, but thankfully, I got what I wanted. Grace stood by the entrance, a hint of bitterness in her gaze, as she looked at me. Michael, I remember 7 years ago, we got our marriage license at this very county's office. I turned my face away and didn't reply to her. Grace seemed lost in her memories and continued, back then, I even told you that in 10, 20, 30 years of marriage, we should come back here to mark the occasion. As she spoke, her voice suddenly choked up. But how is it that I couldn't even make it to our first decade? Michael, Grace stepped forward, as if she had something to tell me. But just as she took a step, a figure rushed out from the corner. Liar. You never loved me at all. If you don't want me to live well, then you shouldn't live either. Warm blood splattered everywhere. Amidst the gasps of the crowd, I quickly stepped forward and pulled Finn away. Someone frantically dialed for emergency services. But by the time the ambulance arrived, Grace had stopped breathing. Before she died, she kept looking at me, but the words she meant to say were left unspoken. When was pinned to the ground, he was sobbing and laughing, like he had completely lost his mind. A wave of realization washed over me, when drove him to the edge. Did she ever imagine this day would come? The wail of the siren faded into the distance. I looked at the twilight glow in the sky, shook my head, and started the car. It was almost time for school to let out, and I needed to pick Lily up.